I the a-hole for telling my daughter that if she and her husband can't afford IVF, then they can't afford a child? This might seem harsh line, but to provide some context, my daughter and her husband have been dealing with infertility for years. They've tried a number of options and IVF is their most recent one. The first round was paid for by me, but it didn't work. Second round was paid for by her dad. That too did not work. It got obviously emotionally and mentally exhausting having to get a negative result after another, so I suggested they take a break and they did. Months later, they visited me and said they were ready to try again. I said that was great and wished them luck. But turned out my daughter was expecting me to cover this round. I was taken aback. I mean, yes, I do have money like my son-in-law pointed out, but it's not about me and what I have. It's about them and what they have as future parents. My daughter looked confused, so I explained that to me, it seemed they're not ready. Because if they can't afford a round of IVF, then they can't afford a child. My daughter got offended, and her husband told me all I had to do was pay for it and let them worry about the rest. I declined to pay, which caused an argument between us. My daughter said that I was being cruel to speak to her and her husband like that. I said I think they're not ready and I'm just being honest. My son-in-law took over the talking and told me that I was just hiding behind the honest bullcrap because that line was the most heartless thing he and my daughter had ever heard. I apologized that they misunderstood, but he told me I was being selfish because I had kids, and now I'm robbing them of this experience. I assured him that the last time I checked, I wasn't responsible for bringing grandchildren to this world. I've done my part in raising my children, and their problems are theirs alone, even if it seemed harsh. They left and my daughter was crying. Then her husband emailed me about how disappointed and let down my daughter felt because of what I said. I wanted to call her, but I'm waiting for her to calm down a bit and I can apologize. I'm unsure, so am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Your son-in-law told you he knows you have the money? Wow, I think you've been generous enough. Not the a-hole. I have to wonder, how come he doesn't have his hand out to his parents? The audacity of these two coming around like Opie has $15,000 burning a hole in her pocket every time they ask for it. Not the a-hole. My sister went through round after round of IVF and just about everything else the doctors had to offer, and successfully. When I was about to embark on fertility treatment, she gave me wise advice. Before you start, decide at what point you will stop. Because fertility clinics will always dangle before you another thing to try or another round of IVF again and again, ad infinitum. It's up to the couple to be realistic about what they can afford financially and emotionally. It seems that this couple has hit their limit, sad though it may be. This is great perspective. I've never thought about it this way before, but it makes perfect sense, especially with how much many clinics seem to push additional services these days. Especially unfortunate considering how extremely emotional and vulnerable people will be when it isn't successful. Not stay home. Wow, the entitlement is strong with these two. Sounds like you're correct. They're neither financially ready nor are they mature enough. Sorry and good luck. My parents used IVF to conceive me. My parents made sacrifices to save up for it, budgeted and picked up shifts, etc. It was rough at a time, I'm sure, to come up with that money, but they did. And that discipline and sacrifice is exactly why they have always been amazing parents. Being a parent isn't easy, and I think Opie's son-in-law and daughter lack the emotional maturity a good parent should have when they can't grasp how absurd these demands are. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my boyfriend to shut the heck up in front of my whole family because of the comment he made about my sister's pregnancy? My sister, female 36, and her husband suffered from infertility for a long time. And yesterday we found that she's expecting, which was amazing. We were all happy for her because we know how much this meant to her and her husband, as they've been through so much heartbreak and disappointment in the past. She decided to gather the family and make the announcement at my parents' house. My boyfriend and I were invited too. We didn't know about it right away till post-dinner, when my sister got up from her seat, held her husband's hand and made the announcement. We, the women, all got up to congratulate her. Once we sat down, my boyfriend seemed puzzled. He tried to talk to my sister for a bit, then asked her to tell him how old she was again. My sister hesitantly said 36. He made a face and said, Wow, didn't know women at this age can still be functional when it comes to breeding. Sudden silence took over. My sister looked down, and then her husband lashed out at my boyfriend asking what the heck his problem was. My boyfriend tried to mumble something, but that's when I loudly told him, "Shut the hell up." He looked at me in shock, and my family stared at him. He seemed very offended and mad. He quickly got up, took his keys, and rushed out after saying, "Excuse me," which my mom replied, "Excuse you?" I apologized to my sister, but she started crying. So I was mad. I went home and had a fight with my boyfriend. He yelled about how I'd belittle him and insulted him in front of my family by telling him to shut the hell up. I told him what he did was not okay, and it ruined my sister's long-awaited announcement. He said he was giving facts, not personal opinions. I told him I did the same then. He got more agitated and said I owe him a huge apology after I insulted him publicly. I replied that he should have held his tongue. Facts or not. He went outside and then started giving me silence till I apologized for what I said. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. What facts does he think he was just saying? The fact that he's completely ignorant about women and fertility? He should be embarrassed. A friend's grandpa used to say, if you don't want to be embarrassed, don't do embarrassing things. Words to live by. Not stay home. Really think about if you want a guy that calls 36-year-old women non-functional and refers to pregnancy as breeding. That's objectifying as heck. What a nay-hole. And before people think I'm talking about it being harder for women to get pregnant as they get older, I'm referring to his phrasing and the fact he thought that was something that was okay to say. I mean, he's also wrong in general. Getting pregnant at 36 is not really much more dangerous or difficult than someone 5 or even 10 years younger. After 40 is when some risks increase more dramatically, but they are also manageable for the most part with regular medical care. Not stay home because his opinion was awful, wrong, and frankly not asked for and unnecessary. Not stay home. He said something really inappropriate. You told him, appropriately, to stop talking, but let's look further into why he's upset. He claims he is upset that you disrespected him in front of others, and he now feels that his reputation is damaged, belittled, insulted, damaged pride, instead of supporting him as a couple. He doesn't even mention what he said, and does not include consideration for how you felt. You felt belittled, insulted, and highly embarrassed that the person you chose to spend your life with and to build a future with would say something so inappropriate in front of your family, about your family member at a moment of good news, that your pride and reputation was damaged by his behavior and your choice in partner. You can get up and leave, which he did, but you don't get that choice because it is family. You can do it in a moment, but you have to face them again because they're family. He uses the defense as giving facts. He literally used "I thought," which is an expression of personal thought process. Ask him if he knows what a fact is, what an opinion is, and how to express them with words. If he is able to, then ask him to apply his logic to his behavior and word choice. And yes, opinions can be based on facts, and facts are just statements that can be proven true or false. So there can be false facts. And he likely just assumed something was a fact to form his opinion, so it was an opinion based on false facts. He still demands an apology for disrespecting him in public? Tell him you do not owe him a damn thing. You did him a favor. 2 favors, actually. You stopped him from making another inappropriate statement/claim which improves his chances of forgiveness. And you made it appear that you were addressing the issue privately. So they are more willing to forgive him for his mistake, with the assumption that he now knows what he did was wrong. No, he does not deserve an apology. He needs to thank you profusely and to apologize to each family member. And not one of those "I'm sorry." No. He needs to look each in the eye, say "I'm sorry," and explain how he understands what he said was wrong, how bad his decision-making was, in detail, and how you helped him understand this. Then he needs to thank you for making him grow into a better version of himself. I know this is a lot, and it's only recommendations, but if you take my advice/breakdown and he refuses, seriously consider dropping him. If he's like this now, either he will never grow up or he will take about 30 years longer for him to become a better person than a normal person does. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for taking my mom's side when she called my wife a gold digger? I know the title sounds horrible and I feel weird because this is the first time I've ever sided with my mom over my wife. So my parents, divorced, are loaded. People sometimes think this means that I'm rich, but my dad hasn't given me anything since I was 21. And my mom stopped gradually but has not given me the same help she has given my sister. A home, cars, a trust. My mom doesn't know I know about this. I'm not saying they owe me anything, just establishing that I'm middle class. We got together as a family recently. This is very rare because my wife and my mom do not like each other. Someone brought up gold diggers, nothing in relation to my wife. My wife made a comment about how it must have been hard for me to date because women probably wanted my money. My mom responded, "What money?" My wife was like, "Well, there was a certain lifestyle." And my mom got an attitude and was like, "What money? Do you mean my money?" At this point, my wife got annoyed and tried to drop it. But my mom told my wife that she needs to pick her words carefully because that sounded kind of like a gold digger. My wife looked at me to defend her, and I normally do, but honestly, I get what my mom was saying. Also, she said it sounds like, which I feel is different from directly calling her a gold digger. My wife asked me if I was going to say anything, and I said to let the conversation go and that money was never my money. My mom proceeded to get pissy about how she feels my wife thinks we are getting that money to will, and that would need to have no expectations because she has put a lot of thought into it. At this point, I told my mom to drop it as well. I thought the rest of the day went fine, but when we got home, my wife was upset with me and said I should have defended her. She feels it was worse because the kids were there and I set a bad precedent. I'm torn, but just in regards to the money, I get what my mom was saying. Now for the comments. You're the a-hole. Your wife was empathizing with you and you demonstrated exactly the mindset she was being critical of. And Opie inadvertently told his wife she sounds like a gold digger for empathizing with him. And that's okay because they didn't say/think she is one directly. My significant other's parents were like this. Just poured money and opportunities on his sister but kicked him out at 17 and shipped him off into the military. Didn't even bother to teach him basic skills. If I stood up for him and he didn't have my back, I would have gone nuclear. You're the a-hole, OP. A big a-hole. Give your wife a hug for me and tell her I'm sorry she got such awful in-laws. You're the a-hole. Both you and your mother. Your wife was talking about your family having the appearance of wealth. That must have attracted some sleazy women who are only interested in that. She obviously wasn't referring to her own interest in your mother's death or inheritance or whatever your dark minds went to. The fact that you both jumped to conclusions reminds me that wealth does not bring class. You're the a-hole. Your wife was just making an observation. She never said that she dated you because of the money. I don't see why your mom immediately jumped in with attitude about her money. And then your wife tried to drop it and your mom wouldn't let it go. So yeah, I think you should have defended her. Unless you actually do think she married you for your money, which you say you don't have. I don't. But the language about the money has been a point of contention for years. And two people refused to speak to my wife because she continuously used the words family money. I'd say the phrase family money is 40% of the reason my mother doesn't really speak to me these days. And I've talked to my wife about how she needs to not think about it as my money because it will never be mine again. But you were raised in a wealthy family. For a good chunk of your life, it was family money. You had opportunities and an upbringing that a lot of kids only dream of. Even if you were not benefiting from these things now, how is your wife supposed to refer to this wealth you experienced? Is your mom only angry that she's not being credited as owning the money? Is your wife making presumptuous statements that you will one day inherit the money? I don't get it. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister's boyfriend she actually couldn't draw? Hey guys, I'm 16 female and my sister Amy is 18 female. My sister and I are really close. We are rather similar too. Example, having the same interests. But what made me different from her was that I love art, and I'm an artist. Drawing is what I'm best at, and I spend several hours a day drawing. Amy never cared for art, and she isn't good at it. For background, 4 months ago, Amy was forced by her form teacher to join an art festival. Since she couldn't draw, she begged me to draw something for her. I accepted under the condition that she wouldn't flaunt this art outside of the festival as hers. I spent over 80 hours drawing my best work, and Amy was overjoyed. She won gold in the festival, and I was really happy. Now, about 2 months ago, Amy found a boyfriend, long distance. He loves art, so she told him she was an artist. He actually never asked for a picture of her drawings until now, because he asked for a picture a few days ago. Amy, without asking for my permission, showed the art I made for her festival. He was amazed and said she was a professional artist. The funny thing is, Amy actually never told me any of these things. Her birthday was yesterday and her boyfriend posted something really sweet on Instagram for her. He made a slideshow of her pictures, and guess what? One of the pictures was the art from the festival, as well as another of my work. I felt really hurt and confused. I'll admit that I was jealous. The post was full of comments amazed by her artistic talent, and well, I just felt betrayed. This is where I might be the a-hole. In a fit of disbelief, I messaged her boyfriend and said that the art, they were all my works. I had pictures of me drawing those, and I showed him. He was shocked and mad at Amy for lying to him. He ended up telling her he needed time to reconsider their relationship, as he thinks trust is the most important factor. She found out what I did and went berserk. She yelled at me for destroying her relationship and making her seem like a liar. She said because of my jealousy, I made her lose her boyfriend. She went to stay at a friend's house, and I feel really freaking guilty. Amy was so happy with her boyfriend, and I could have kept my anger in check. However, my mom told me it wasn't my fault and that Amy messed up her own relationship. Am I the a-hole? So your sister is a liar and she's angry at you for outing her as a liar? Definitely not the a-hole. I hope you guys patch things up. But if you play silly games, you win silly prizes. I think anyone would be rightfully upset about their siblings stealing their art and attempting to pass it off as their own. Mad at Amy for lying to him. He ended up telling her he needed time to reconsider their relationship, as he thinks trust is the most important factor. I think that's a wise choice on his part. That's the thing with liars. You cannot ever know if anything they say is true. I would think, well, if they're comfortable lying, claiming someone else's art is theirs, what else will they lie about? You're not the a-hole and didn't make your sister seem like a liar. She is a liar. Yeah. Just follow up with, how did I make you seem like a liar? Because her only answer is, because you exposed my lie, or some version of the same.